Hi, everyone. This is Marilyn Aloria, Psychic Medium. Thank you so much for joining me on this Google Hangout, Forgiveness, the Key to the Light of Your Soul. I am really excited to talk about this. Well, I shouldn't say I'm really excited about talking about this topic because I'm still learning a lot about forgiveness. And that's why I felt it was extremely important to invite John Burgos, who I'm going to talk to you about in a minute, on this program because he's really well versed in forgiveness. I was somebody who grew up with forgiveness being taught to me as, you forgive but you never forget. And how can you possibly be in true forgiveness if you're forgiving but never forgetting? So recently I've started doing a lot of work in A Course in Miracles and in other books that I've been reading, spiritually based books. And I'm really learning how grievances and forgiveness keep us from our true life's calling, our true soul's purpose. But the double-edged sword for me about that is the reason why I would forgive and not forget is because not forgetting allowed me to put a boundary in place, for somebody who may have really hurt me, and because I couldn't trust myself enough to get hurt, to not get hurt again, or trust them, I would choose to never forget. And that really does keep you blocked. It keeps you blocked from divine inspiration. It keeps you blocked from spirit. It keeps you blocked from really your true life's purpose, because your focus and your energy gets dragged into something else instead of what you really should be. I hate to say should, what you need to be focusing on is the light of your soul, your true purpose. But we're going to talk so much about this. I just wanted to give a slight introduction as to why I felt this topic was so important and why I'm so excited about our guest. But before you meet him, I want to do a grounding meditation because, as we all know, these Google Hangouts and anything technical with spirit, they like to go wacky and things fall off and all that kind of crazy stuff. So let's do a quick grounding meditation and get right into it. And then do know that to be on the Google Hangout, I'm also going to be giving away a free 2-question email reading. So start up your Q&As so that you're able to ask us questions, because we're going to be taking questions. And also that's how you're going to win the email reading. So I'm not going to tell you about that. So you're just going to have to wait. All right. So everybody, just close your eyes and just breathe into your stomach 3 times. And become aware of what your day has been like. Just bring your consciousness back to the moment, releasing anything that may have affected you today that's keeping you in work or keeping you back at the subway when you're on the subway, or anything that happened that might be dragging your energy down. And I want you to just see it falling away, all of your day's stuff or anything from the past or maybe from the weekend that's no longer serving you. Spirit knows what to take away. And you just see it all falling away. It's all falling into the ground. It's falling way, way down into the earth. Mother Earth is just taking it and burning it. It's not yours. It's blocking you. You're just letting it go. And just keep seeing that fall down. And on top of your head is a big pile of salt. And when I count to 3, that salt is going to work its way down your body. And as it's working its way down your body, it's pulling out anything in your unconsciousness, in your consciousness, in past life experience, time, past, present, future, anything that's no longer serving you, that's keeping you not forgiving, keeping you out of the light of your soul. So I'm going to count to 3, and don't worry about what it's doing, just let it do its work. So 1, 2, 3. And just see the salt falling down your head, down your throat, down your chest. And it's just taking everything out that is just toxic to your soul. Your thighs, your knees, shin, feet. All the way down into the ground. And Mother Earth is just taking it, and she's just sending it further into the earth, further, further, further into the earth. It's just completely gone, and then a cascade of water comes down your body and washes anything else away, and Mother Earth just takes that and takes it away and just gives it back to where it belongs. And now I want you to see your guides above your head, way, way above, and you may not know your guides, so don't worry about it. And they're dropping down a colored light that allows you to fully embrace forgiveness. Just fully embracing it. Don't get into any kind of, but what about so-and-so? No, it's none of that. You're just fully embracing it. And they're dropping down a color. And they're dropping that color all the way down the center of your body, going through all your chakras, just filling you with love. filling you with complete and utter self-love. And it's going all the way out your first chakra, all the way down to the ground, all the way through the ground, all the way down to Mother Earth. And there's also cords of light coming out your toes, going down to Mother Earth. And Mother Earth is just holding them between her hands, all these cords. And she opens up her hands, and there's this magnificent light inside her hands. And in that light is a word for you, an energetic word for you. And now she's sending that light of energy up, all those cords. And it's going up your system, up your chakras. Don't worry if you don't know what your chakras are. All the way up, out your crown chakra, all the way back up to your guides. And they're rubbing in their hands. And they're putting their hands over your head. And they're sending down another brilliant light with another beautiful, energetic word that's going all the way down again to Mother Earth. And she's just sending light back up, and they're sending light back down. And just breathe again into your soul, breathe again into your stomach, knowing that you're completely grounded. We're all grounded. Our room is grounded, where we're sitting is grounded. Bring your attention back to yourself, and just open your eyes. I hope you enjoyed that. I always find now it's better to start with meditations, because when I don't, it just goes crazy all over the place. So now I'm going to introduce you to a really, really, really special friend of mine. His name is John Burgos. And I met John maybe last year, and we became instant friends. John is just one of these warm, loving people who's just so about lifting everyone else's spirit. He's just a complete loving soul that motivates you into action and really believes in everybody that he's around. He just really helps you to feel his light. He's the founder and the host of the Transformational Beyond the Ordinary Telesummit, and he really delivers the next generation of thought-provoking and inspiring experts to help you awaken to your true potential. And I was lucky to be one of them, so I'm just really excited to introduce him. What I love about John is that he's just living proof of what he teaches. He's been through it, and he is just living proof of it, and that's why he's bringing all these transformational leaders to everybody else, because he wants them to have this experience. He was just so inspired by transformational work that changed his life and resurrected his innate powerful abilities as an intuitive. And as I get to know him, his psychic abilities are just getting stronger and stronger and stronger. He's also highly sought out as a personal development and business coach who excels at working with thought leaders and companies that are catalysts for global change. He is so good at focusing people and helping them to see their gifts for the world and just pushing them forward. John is well versed in the art of forgiveness and guiding people to live their dream. He empowers people to reshape their future and achieve high levels of success in all areas of life. I'm just so excited he's here. And I may just forget to ask a few questions, so we're just going to welcome him. We're going to, to be honest with you, I didn't write a lot about this Google Hangout because I just adore John, and I know that our energy together is really going to drive this Google Hangout. So welcome, John. Hi, John.
Hey, Marilyn, how are you? Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And, you read a part on there of you spoke about the part of my bio that talks about how I bring on catalysts that are leaders for global change. And you truly are one of them. So thank you for all that you do and for the light that you provide to the world, because you're phenomenal. I mean, truly. And everybody who's on this Google Hangout, you guys know, you're here for a reason. Marilyn is something truly special, and you guys are participating in that. And I'm so happy that you guys are here at this level of Marilyn, the work that you're doing, because she's going to blow up. And you guys are really the part of the catalyst for Marilyn that are going to take her work out into a global platform as she expands and grows and gets to share her work even with a larger audience and expands into just different parts of the globe. So I'm excited. I am honored to know you and to count you as my friend as well. So thank you for having me here today.
Thank you. And that's exactly, it's going to be a little love fest here, so guys, just be ready for that. But that's exactly why I love John, because that's what he does to everybody in their presence. I've seen him around 20, 30 people, and he lifts the spirits of everybody he's around. So if you don't know John, get to know John. Get on his Beyond the Ordinary show, which is phenomenal. Get part of that email list and get to know who he is, because he's really great. And since he said something, that's my program, Soul Mentorship Program. You can all check it out later, and we'll talk about it later. But I really want to talk to you, John. I want to get to this forgiveness. We're going to be doing a really fun technique. We're going to be taking Q&A. This is going to be very interactive. But I know, like, I've heard from so many healers out there and people that have been on your show that you are so well versed in forgiveness. And I want to hear what does that mean to you when I say that? How did you get to your own forgiveness story? How did you figure out forgiveness was the key to your life?
Oh my God, I had no clue. I didn't know what was going on. I knew I'd gotten to a certain part of my life. I think I was about 38, 39 years old. I can't even calculate time anymore. I have to kind of estimate because time just kind of flies and everything runs together now. But I think so. I was about 38, 39 years old. I had a successful career. I ran an insurance franchise and I was trying to grow it, but I felt stuck. I felt stuck in business. I actually felt stuck in other places in my life, but I didn't know it at the time because everything that I focused on that I needed to experience of what life was trying to show me and the lessons that it was trying to teach me, I let it fall on the business aspect of my life because that was the easiest place for me to experience it. Had I experienced it in my personal life, in my relationships, I think it would have been too hard for me and I would have slipped away into something else. So I was lucky that the universe was divinely guiding me and showing me a gentle place where I can take the information and grow from it instead of going into a cocoon and retracting from it and just falling into the rat race. So about 38, 39 years old, I reached out. I just intuitively knew that I had to reach out to someone to mentor me to level up my business in a different way. And I didn't really know what that looked like. And I actually called an old friend who actually worked with executives from Nike, from Starbucks, Hollywood directors. And I knew that she provided something that was unique and special and that she was sought after, but I didn't really know why. I mean, all this was just crazy how I reached out to her. But she agreed to work with me. After me trying to negotiate what her pricing was going to be to consult with her for 12 weeks, which didn't go anywhere, I nearly actually almost fell out of my chair when she told me how much she was going to charge me, but I decided, you know what, I finally have to invest in myself. I know I'm ready for something else, and I don't know how to get there. I feel that there's something more. I feel like I can reach out and almost grab that brass ring, but it seems so elusive to me, so I knew I needed help. And I started working with her, and one of the tools that she started working with me with was this deep transformational forgiveness process. And oh my God, when I let go of the energy that I was holding on to with anger, guilt, regret that I wasn't even aware that I was carrying, because I've always been pretty calm, pretty peaceful, kind of laid back, and whenever there was a situation in my life where it felt like someone did something against me, I was betrayed, didn't show up for me, I just kind of swallowed it, let it go, and I didn't think that I held on to the energy of it. And that wasn't the truth. A lot of people express their anger or their grudges in different ways. I eternalized it and ignored it. I'm extremely empathetic and sympathetic, and I always try, my whole life, just intrinsically, I always tried to carry the energy of turn the other cheek, things will work out, you know, the whole karmic thing. But I didn't realize that I was actually eating myself alive on the inside because I was carrying these emotions. So I started working with her, and she led me through this amazing process that included forgiveness, releasing toxic emotions, and cellular reformatting our languaging. These are all different aspects. But I just caught on to the work like it was wildfire. It was absolutely amazing. She actually told me that in the 25 years of all these different professionals that she worked with, all these high-level executives and really spiritual people also that she worked with to work past these issues, that no one had caught on to this work like I had. It's when we started going through this process, my intuition, my psychic abilities, my dreams just went through the roof. I was getting all this information that I remember having when I was a kid, but that somehow got shut down because of the little or big traumatic experiences or pinnacle moments that occurred when I was growing up. And I decided, much like you did, Marilyn, to put up those walls and say, you know what, no one's going past this section. You know, it's safe here. and I'll only let you in if I really, 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 really trust you, which was very few people and few and far between. So I effectively hold myself up and held back for a large portion of my life because I was hanging on to these negative emotions. So I have to thank my mentor and the woman who guided me through that because it was an amazing process that just opened up the doors to other avenues that I couldn't have imagined were waiting for me, but I had to let go of these toxic emotions that were holding me back from leveling up my energy so I can be in a position where I can match the energy that wanted to come in but that I was holding back. So that's how I got started with it, Marilyn.
Wow. You know, John, you said so much that I was trying to take notes because it was so powerful. Everything that you said, it's like I need to have a four-part series with John alone because there was so much powerful stuff in there. And I really like one of the things is like turning the other cheek. So many of us have learned that, and it's misinformation out there. It's not about, you don't have to retaliate. I would love to know your thoughts on this. There's so much I want to talk to you about, but like, turning the other cheek, what does that mean to you now? Now that you sit in forgiveness, what do you think that means to you?
Well, there is no turning the other cheek. I think that was an expression that got somehow misinterpreted as time went on. That, I grew up very Catholic, so turning the
Yeah.
cheek had a very specific meaning, and it had very high. For me, it had a very high vibration of the teachings of Jesus, but I think it got misconstrued in the interpretation. When I look at it now, it's not turning the cheek; it's in really showing your other side and showing the love and expression. But that doesn't mean that you have to be a doormat for what's coming at you, because what you truly do is when you're in that space of calmness, of really knowing yourself and of loving yourself fully, you turn the energy to a space where you can accept the other's viewpoint. You can accept where they came from and still honor the position that you're in and acknowledge your position because that's your strength. And whenever you walk in your strength, whenever you carry your self-integrity, that's when you can show up fully for other people. Not by hiding yourself or by making yourself smaller, but by really shining, by being as big, as large as you are. The light that you are, shine that as bright as you can. And that's when you become a beacon for others. That's when your life starts showing all the possibilities that are available to you and all these synchronicities start showing up.
Totally. You know, I just, it's so true, and I do feel, it did come from, for me, I'm Catholic too. I was raised Catholic too, so it was definitely like the Jesus teaching back then, and it's not fully what it was meant, and I agree with everything you said about turning the other cheek. And the other thing I like too is that what I have learned recently, and I'd love to hear what you think about this, is by me forgiving when I have somebody in front of me who's I'm suffering a grievance from, I'm now turning it around and look inside at myself. What is it that I need to learn about myself? Because you talked about forgiveness for all these other people, and then it's really forgiveness for self. And I know I can see you smiling, and I'm like, I got to hear what John says about this. And when you forgive yourself for that thing that they're bringing up in you, then there's a whole, like you said, a whole other area, and it's so much more powerful than sitting there gritting your teeth going, I'm going to hate that person till the end of time, because that does nothing. You're swallowing all that energy, and it's just killing you in the inside, like you said. So with this whole thing that you talked about, tell me about forgiveness of self. Like, just talk about that, because I need to hear it, and I'm sure they do too.
You know what? I love what you said about killing yourself on the inside because, I mean, really, that's what anger and regret do. When you
Yeah.
carry that and you're holding a grudge against someone else, I mean, that anger is like having the poison and taking it yourself and expecting the other person to die.
Right.
It's crazy. And we do that on a consistent basis. We're taught that as a society. Hold a grudge, put up your walls, protect yourself, be angry. It's crazy. It's just shown left and right. I mean, that's why all these wars are going on in the world. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. So we don't have to stay in that state of mind. And Marilyn, I think what I'd like to do is let's go through the process that I was going to share because I think that's really going to open up the conversation and it's going to take us into that self-forgiveness also.
Okay, that's great. I'd love to do that because, something you said, there's just so much I want to talk about, so we'll do the technique and then we'll see where it goes. But something you just said, somebody once said to me, resentment is the pill that you swallow. And I love that when you resent someone, you're swallowing all that energy. So I just want to share that with everybody. John, I would love for you and everybody, please open up your Q&As too, because we are going to take questions after this, and definitely talk some more with John, because you can see how he's so comfortable with all this information. So go ahead, John, take it away.
Yeah, and this is super simple. Again, I say it's simple. This information actually goes really deep. And the forgiveness process that I've worked with for a long time, I became a master certified practitioner in this practice. As a matter of fact, I'm the only master certified practitioner in the whole world. I worked with Dawn for about 5 years, and I actually helped train other practitioners as well. So this is a deep, deep practice and process, and I'm going to give you a layer of it, so that I'm going to give you a layer that you can actually use on yourself on a daily basis, because it's going to open up channels of information and this peace within yourself just by doing this part of it. And what we want to do with forgiveness is we really want to get to the core of why this issue is coming up. So whenever something is occurring in your life, say if someone's betraying you at work, if someone keeps lying to you, if things are showing up on a consistent basis, they're typically a fractal of something that has been occurring in your life for a long time. And a lot of times these fractals, these events, go back and originate to when you first came into this world. They emanate back to your parents and something that is unresolved there. And we can clear up those issues, we can get to the core of it, you'll find that all those threads that are along the same lines, the same things that keep happening over and over again, they just go away. You don't have to repeat those patterns ever again. You learned, if you will, the lesson, and you get to move on to something else, and you don't have to spend your energy there anymore. So
I want to ask you one thing, John, before we go in, just because there's a question here, and I think this is going to get answered through the technique. It's from Gia, and she said, if you and John can share more info on self-forgiveness for past failures, mistakes, and wrongdoing, I tend to focus on what I didn't do right, and it's holding me back. I love that question. So I'm assuming this technique is going to address that as well. Is that correct? Do you have anything you could say in response to that as we lead into it?
I finally seen lack of discipline with my spiritual practice unless something is going wrong in my life. I can tell you these perceived wrong things, I'll do the quotes, they're not wrong. They're guideposts that are showing up because the universe is wanting to guide you in a new direction. So I was sharing with Marilyn earlier, you would think I would have had the most horrendous day today. I went to sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was so exhausted. I thought I was going to sleep late. The phone rang at 7 a.m. I thought I was going to sleep until about 9 or 10 because I had a long day today. Woke me up. I went ahead and got up. I had a writing project that I have a chapter that I have to finish for a book that I'm writing. And it's crazy. I spent 3 hours on one paragraph in that chapter. I just couldn't make headways. It's like, okay, what's going on? So I said, you know what? I'm going to go take a break. I'm going to go have lunch outside, kind of hang out, soak in the sun. So me and Rika, Rika's my girlfriend, we went out to have lunch. We parked our car. We're in California. I thought I found this primo spot because parking spots aren't so great in California sometimes, and we're hanging out. And I'm sitting there just contemplating what's going on during the day. In the meantime, there's a bird on the wire. It poops on me. And then I look across the street, and there's a police officer writing me a ticket. And I just smiled, and she looks at me, and Rika looks at me, and she just starts laughing. She's like, I go, what's so funny? She goes, you crack me up. She goes, you don't even know that you do this. All the stuff that's happening today would throw anybody in a tailspin, and you're just sitting here hanging out, having a good time, like nothing's happening. You're aware of your surroundings, and you're actually contemplating what the universe is trying to show you in this. So I told Rika, oh, the bird was actually telling me to move my car, but I wasn't listening.
I love that.
Instead of moving my table, I should have moved my car. I wasn't paying attention.
Well, the other thing about birds, too, is in Italian things, when a bird poops on you, it's good luck. So there you go.
There you go. It was a sign. But anyway, some of these things that show up that are supposedly bad things that are showing up, it's the universe trying to get your attention. So when you can start reworking the frameworks around bad things and actually look inwardly and going, okay, what is this trying to show me? What's going on? And take a deep breath into it, because we don't have to get into reaction mode in a continuous basis, or we don't have to react right away. We can actually absorb the information, get into that space, and gosh, listen to any one of these meditations that Marilyn starts these calls with. Let that ground you in, and I guarantee you that you're going to be in a better space to do something with that information that comes in. So know that there's no mistakes. There's no mistakes. You're being divinely guided in everything that you do, and the universe is going to show up to get you to the next place. You may not like the way in some of the ways that it shows up. I know I didn't like some of the ways that it showed up in my life when I was going through some of this transformation. But the other side of it is absolutely amazing. And all you have to do is just have enough courage to get past that one incident, to get past that a little part of that thing that is coming up, and the rest will just unfold. You don't have to be this big, bold warrior that faces everything on head on. Just take one step at a time, and it'll start unraveling, and it'll get easier, and you'll start noticing, and before you know it, you'll be in that practice of just being aware of your situation around you, being aware of what's coming up in your life and why, and you'll be able to respond in a whole different way. You'll be able to show up for yourself in a whole different way. And those things that didn't serve you, the people that don't serve you, the jobs that don't serve you, the energy that doesn't serve you, won't be in your life anymore in that particular way. It'll change. The whole resonance of what's going on around that will take on a different vibration, and it'll level up.
It's so true. It's like a couple of things you said, John, and I just have to say it, and then we can do the technique and we have Q&A. But you know, when you let go of that stuff, those people go away, and you clear the path for other situations to come in. And sometimes people are afraid to let go of, and it doesn't mean you just have to get everybody out of your life, but people are afraid to let go of certain relationships because they're afraid they're going to be alone. But really what you're doing is saying, I trust the universe, I trust everything, and I know more stuff will come in. And the more you're consciously aware of what's going on in your life, I'll give a quick example, then you allow other things to come in. Like today I came back from yoga, and my dog, I have just redecorated my house, he ripped through the carpet, new carpet, and new rug, and I was furious, you know, and then it took a few moments, and I realized, well, maybe I'm supposed to crate him for a reason because he's been acting up from the earthquakes. Maybe Spirit is asking me to crate him right now because he's going to get harmed from a bookshelf falling over or something like that. So just take the lesson and let it go. And one of the new things that I've learned in one of the books that I'm reading is setting my clock, my alarm on my phone every hour. I set it every hour, and then I have a list of affirmations I read for that day. And I share that with all of you because it's been phenomenal for me, and it brings you into consciousness. And I'm going to ask John, actually, after this technique or right now, to give us an affirmation that we could all use in forgiveness, self-forgiveness or world forgiveness. Write us something that everybody, I'm going to ask everybody to set their clock for tomorrow, and let's say it as a group, and let's really get this forgiveness going so that we can have the miracles happen in our life, because it's all about miracles. That's what happens.
That's amazing, Marilyn. And it's funny when you talk about people, you know, people leaving our lives. It's not that people leave our lives or we're letting them go. Actually, we're inviting people to play with us in a whole different way. We're inviting people to show up to a playground that we know is going to be constructive, we know is going to be fun, and that's going to elevate everybody. So you don't let people go. It's just people get to decide whether or not they want to show up. The people that want to show up, the people that do show up in phenomenal ways. Gosh, the relationship with my daughters, amazing. I was close with them before. I did not know the level of showing up that they were capable of, the conversations that we have now, the intimacy. It's just phenomenal, and I couldn't have gotten there had I been stuck in I can't let my daughters go. I was showing up in a different way, and I was actually an example for them to say, hey, if Dad can do this, I can do this too.
I love that, John. Thank you for that, because that's a little boundary that hearing it that way is what I needed to hear. So I appreciate that, because that's still my boundary setting going, okay, I'm going to let them go, get rid of them, you know what I'm saying? And you're right, just all I need to do is do my thing, and they'll show up and play with me if they want to play with me, and if not, then that's great. So
Well,
thank you for that.
yeah. Well, imagine this. Imagine you just have a brand new Ferrari that you get to drive around all over the place, and you're inviting people in the car to take a drive with you.
Right.
If they don't get in the car, are you not going to drive the Ferrari?
Oh no, I'm driving the Ferrari.
Your life is the Ferrari. You've had the opportunity to drive in this fancy sports car. I mean, it's so amazing. It's as energetic beings, we are space shuttles that are driving these ships to go to the grocery store for milk instead of driving around galaxies. We have to
Right.
open up to who we really are and use the power of these vessels so that we can live the life that we're supposed to live, that we're meant to live. We're supposed to be happy, joyful, co-creating with the universe. That is our experience here on this earth. But it's when we hold on to these negative emotions, we hold on to the fears, we hold on to the regret, that it holds us back and doesn't allow us to walk into that state of being.
Yeah, I really want you to do that technique now because I really feel like what I felt from spirit right then at that moment was the people that are really struggling right now, maybe with finding a job or not being let go of a job or in a relationship that's making them feel really trapped and they can't see a way out because all they feel is suffocation or that everything's against them. So unless you have something to say to that, say something and then let's definitely go into that technique and then I'm making you write an affirmation, boy. That's
Oh,
my Brooklyn side.
I've got like hundreds of those, and I've been so
Yay!
amazing. Yeah, yeah. So it's amazing. So we're going to go through a process here, and if you guys have the opportunity to write it down, write it down. If not, just follow along and really feel into the energy of what I'm saying. And I'm giving you kind of this is so unlike me, but it's kind of a linear application for you to use now that really goes deep into the spiritual component. So as you get into this and you start thinking from your heart, not from your head. So if you will, if you bring your head down into your heart and stay from that space and really live there and own your ability to stay there in your emotions and honor that, this process is going to take you a long way. So I want you to think of something that happened, someone that did something to you, and what that incident was. For me, I can give you an example. And I'll go back to see, and I can talk about a lot of these things because I don't have a charge on them because they're more like old stories that I used to tell and used to hold on to, or maybe even from a different lifetime than anything that's my truth or experience now. And I talk about this information with a tremendous amount of honor and a tremendous amount of gratitude for the people that shared that story with me, because without them I couldn't have learned this lesson. And we're in a different relationship now because of it. So think of something that occurred to you. It could be something that happened to you when you were a kid. It could be something something that happened to you last week, where someone just did something to you and it really got to you. For me, my dad used to drink all the time. He was an alcoholic. Didn't show up for us. It was scary to be at home at night because we never knew if he was going to blow up in one of his fits at any given time. So whenever I was in that space, I learned to really well up. And while my initial state when I was a kid was being scared, as I got older, there was a lot of anger and resentment that went along with that also. So think of an incident and think of how it made you feel when that was occurring. So did that incident, did it make you feel angry? Did it make you feel sad? Did it make you feel scared? Go deep, and I want you to go into the emotions, not the logical. So again, drop your head into your heart and speak from that space. So if you're going back to when you were a child, try to go back and talk to that 7-year-old, that 6-year-old, that 10-year-old that was going through those emotions and really bring those emotions up. So with my dad, I was afraid. When Dad acted that way, I didn't trust him. When Dad acted that way, I didn't feel safe. Okay, so bring those in, and again, you may have to spend some time coming off this, but this exercise is so worth it. It's going to release so much, it's not even funny. When you get there, then start having the conversation with your dad, with your mom, with your boss, with your friend. When you did this, this is how it made me feel. So, Dad, when you drank, I didn't feel I could trust you. Dad, when you drank that way, it felt like it was a volatile situation and I was afraid. When you drank like that, it made me feel like I wasn't a priority. So those were some examples that happened, that came up with me when I went through this forgiveness process with that. And I actually did this process with that a few times because I really wanted to hit it down at court. Then after that, I want you to go in and really get into what you wanted from your dad or from the other person that you didn't get. So whenever the whole situation was coming up, so if you had a boss who was acting mean to you, what did you want from your boss at that time that he wasn't given to you, that she wasn't giving to you? I wanted to be heard. I wanted to be respected. I wanted you to understand what I was trying to tell you. And start acknowledging the information that you couldn't quite articulate in your head at the time. Bring it down into your heart and articulate it now. And this is your time to actually sit in the energy with that person and have that conversation with them. So we're not really thinking of this as something that occurred in the past. We're bringing that timeline into the present so that we can work with it in the present and dissipate the energy and dilute it into something where it doesn't carry the energy anymore that it did. So get into that space. Get into what you wanted that you didn't get. And again, after you do that, go back. How did it make you feel when you didn't get it? It's so important. When Dad wasn't showing up for me, I was sad. I was afraid. I felt like I wasn't enough. I felt like he didn't love me. I mean, it was deep, and these went down into core issues that kept recurring in my life over and over and over again until I got the message. And so those are the key components there. Okay, you're writing that down, good. And again, feel yourself into that process. Feel yourself into those questions. Now, look in and see what type of emotions that's stirring up within you. It's really important that you get into the emotions of it. And a lot of anger will probably start boiling up. A lot of sadness may start boiling up. Go through that, acknowledge it, own it, let it percolate. Because what happens a lot of times, we're not equipped to have these conversations with people. It's always we go back and we revisit these events in our mind over and over again. I wish I would have said that. I wish they would have understood this. I wish it would have gone this other way. This is your opportunity to have the conversation again in a way that honors you and it honors them as well. Because what's really happening as you show up for the conversation, you're giving them the energetic presence to be there for you as well. Because the truth is that they're souls that actually came here to help you learn this information. And when you get it, they're actually released of that job and they can walk forward in a different way for you as well. So it's super important that, again, you ask them to show up as if they're showing up right now. And once you guys have written all this down, I want you guys to actually go into the mirror, go into the bathroom, go into your living room where you have a mirror where you can stand, I don't know, 18 to 20 inches away from the mirror and look in your eyes, preferably your left eye. There's like a connection there, and have this conversation with that person and express to them what you were feeling and what was going on. And this is going to be huge in allowing you actually to start speaking your mind, start speaking from your heart, and acknowledging the inner child that needs to be heard. Because a lot of times we don't allow ourselves to do that. We hold back, we delay, and we speak out of anger. So what happens in this process is that you start to diffuse the anger. You start to confuse all the swirling energy that comes with these emotions that actually put us in whirlwinds where we can't articulate what we want to say. And again, you start calming the field down enough that you start getting into the practice of really acknowledging what you need, what you have to say in the manner in which you say it. And it just allows the conversations for the rest of your life to start unfolding in a different way as well, because you start releasing the negative energies to it. What happens later, and this is the first part of it, what happens later is that we actually get into the clinical perspective of why that person may have been showing up that way. So perhaps, for my dad, it's like he didn't really know how to act a different way. He was intoxicated on a continuous basis because he was trying to drown out feelings from his childhood. He had been so hurt for so long, and then he became addicted with the substance abuse to medicate himself with alcohol and with drugs, and he didn't know what he was doing. And we start having compassion for the people that supposedly are transgressors in a whole different way, and that information opens up again a different level of forgiveness that starts taking place, because we see these people now as real people with real emotions, with real needs, going through their own stuff, instead of someone that's just there to hurt us. And again, when we start carrying that compassion forward, and then the understanding that they're actually here and showing up for us as souls so that we can learn a lesson, that's when we can start not only taking that compassion, but we start having gratitude for what they did and how they did it, because it actually took a lot of energy. It took a lot of life force to bring such negativity into our lives so that we can learn our lesson. We can learn our lessons. And so, again, that's the beginning components of it, Marilyn.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of things I want to say, and John, that was just really, it's great because I've done a lot of, like, I don't know that we've ever talked about it. My father was an alcoholic too, and I've done a lot of work in that area as well. My father, I can't believe I'm going to say this story on Google Plus, but I'm going to say it. My father shot a gun at my mother in front of all of us when I was 4 years old, and missed my brother like by an inch. So that was a big story for all of us, seeing him try to kill out my mother in front of us. And I have such forgiveness and compassion for him, and he didn't show up a lot for me in my life. This house that I own is because my dad helped me to get this house. So it's like I really do have a lot of forgiveness for him and a lot of understanding for him. But when I did your technique, it was so fascinating to me because what came up for me was my childhood with friends. When I was very young in grammar school, I had some BITCHY girls around me, and they didn't, I was always kind of getting thrown out of the group, and went to a very private Catholic school, and it was very cliquey, and I went to the school with the mob, and my father was a cop, and it's interesting because today that was like a struggle I was having, that somebody that I adore and want to hang out with wanted to spend some time together, but I'm really about myself this month. Like I really just need to be with myself, so I'm feeling guilty about not hanging out with friends, but I'm also, these are new people in my life. And what showed up for me was how much those experiences back then have shaped, I have a lot of good friends and I've learned a lot, but they really do shape my boundaries of how I let people into my life still today. And you really showed a lot of that to me by me going back in time and going back to those friendships and, very young. And I realized, I wanted to get out of my crazy house. I needed these girls. I wanted these girls to be friends with me, to help me feel safe. And that just taught me a lot. I know I'm just kind of whoosh spilling it because it's a lot of information. But what I also find interesting is one of those childhood girls, I'm talking like in my, like I said, grammar school age, she's back in my life now. She's coming out to California in July to visit. I haven't seen her in I don't know how many years. We grew up together on the same block. And it's so great to reconnect because she was somebody I couldn't stand after hurting me so much. And now she's coming here to visit, and I'm going to get to be able to probably even talk about this stuff. So that is powerful.
It's really powerful, and well, first of all, Marilyn, I have to say that you being able to talk about what happened with your dad, it's because you're at a point where that isn't affecting you like it did in the past.
Yeah, it's not a story that I tell any longer. It's not a story that defines me. It's just something that happened, and oh well, that's the way it feels.
And I think it actually did define you because you had to learn to see whatever you had to learn to see beyond that to get into this space. So what's beautiful about this forgiveness process is that at the end of the day, it's all about forgiving ourselves.
Yeah.
And what happens at the end of this forgiveness process is we actually go back and we go into, okay, I forgave Dad for this and for that, and I saw the compassion and the clinical perspective of why he was showing up, the way he grew up, the way that he knew to raise his son. And then we got into the soul level component of it. He was really a soul that came here to show me, to teach me that I didn't have to live this way anymore. But I had to learn the lesson. He couldn't teach it.
Yeah,
I had to,
sorry, go ahead.
no, I had to learn. He couldn't teach me what the lesson was. He had to participate so that I can become self-aware of it. And whenever on a soul level, because we're all here as souls showing up for each other.
Yeah.
We just are. But once you get that and you get into the gratitude of how difficult it had to have been for them as a soul to be so dark, because they're beautiful light beings. The people that are I mean, I'm going to start welling up. All of you are amazing beyond belief and such luminous, loving beings that your capacity from where you came from to carry that negative energy is unrecognizable. It's just, it doesn't exist. And the fact that you come down here to share these experiences and lower your vibration to a certain level so that someone else can learn what they have to learn is one of the most loving acts that we can do as souls for each other. And to get to a state of gratitude where you actually acknowledge the other soul for who they really are, it's profound. But what all this leads us to is that we have gone into a part of our life whenever something has been done to us, we've done it to someone else. We've repeated this pattern because it's all a repeated pattern. And if we haven't done it to someone else, then we've done it to ourselves. And so we have to forgive ourselves for that. Where in my life was I betraying myself in the same way that my father was betraying me? I was. Where was I not showing up for myself? If my own father was betraying me, who wouldn't? Well, if I was betraying me, if I'm capable of betraying myself, then who else wouldn't betray me if I don't show up for myself? And when you can get to the point where you can forgive yourself, where you didn't show up in your life, where you didn't stick up for yourself, where you didn't love yourself enough, where you didn't think that you deserve love, for all these things that you feel are lacking in your life, when you understand the compassion part of it, of why you didn't, you understand your story of why you grew up, and you also understand that you can put an end to it right now, then you really set yourself free, and the energy thread is gone. There's no karmic implications. You're done. And what used to take lifetimes from a karmic evolution standpoint to get rid of, we're in a point in our lives with all the energy that is being sent to us from the universe where it doesn't take lifetimes to go through this stuff. We can go through these lessons dozens at a time and be done with them and level up our karmic experience in this lifetime tenfold if we choose to.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, John. I really do. And I just love the lessons I'm learning from you through this as well, because it's just so fascinating to hear. And what I love about your technique, too, is you're not telling people, oh, just forget about it. You're allowing people to have the emotions of it. Like, we get to have the emotion of what that did, mourn it, experience it, heal it, and then become empowered. Like you said, I loved how you said, where did you betray yourself, you know? Like the simple example for me, it's like I'm feeling bad because I need to spend time by myself right now. Why? There's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's a fear there that I have to allow everybody in. No, it's okay. It's okay right now to be with me and the people that when they're ready to play in that playground with other people, they'll be there. You know, there's just so much packed in that, and I'm learning so much by hearing you. So, and I know you want to say something else, and the other thing I want to say before I want to take Q&A is, are you working with people this way? Because I was in therapy for over 16 years on and off, and it does. The stuff that John's talking about, the technique he's sharing right now, it just changes things really fast, especially you just get to it really quickly. So answer those questions.
Well, yeah, first of all, the technique goes to core, and I haven't experienced anything that goes as deep as quickly as this does. And when you get to the core of it, you're done. You're absolutely done. And I was doing private practice for a while. I was working as a consultant for the speaker, and we were building a platform, and I was taking private clients on. And I had clients who had sat on a psychiatrist's couch for 10 to 15 years and couldn't get past issues, that worked with me for 10 to 12 weeks. And actually, we even sped it up. We got to the point where we even went through the process in 3 to 4 sessions, and they were done. They were done with that issue. We had people quit smoking, people losing 50 to 60 pounds. I had couples come in that were on the verge of breaking up, and I would warn them, you guys are either going to get closer together or you're going to break up. And I can't guarantee which one it's going to be. And it's not because you're not going to be doing your work, but you may not resonate with each other on the same level anymore. You may be done with each other's lessons and decide that you're going to move on. I said, but you guys have the choice. You can continue the relationship the way that it's going, which, by the way, wasn't going very great. They were just holding on to something out of fear. And that fear was keeping them from growing. And actually, I had 2 sets of couples go through this, and both couples actually were thriving and happier than they'd ever been together. Their relationships have just evolved. They're open. Their sexual relationship has actually expanded, and they do more things together. It's been phenomenal for them. So it's a great practice. And I stopped taking private clients when I started the series Beyond the Ordinary. And it's so funny, Marilyn. Thank you for having me on, because I don't get to be the expert anymore. I get to interview all these amazing experts, which is great for me because, again, I started the show because I learned not too long ago of these amazing tools and techniques that are available to allow people to walk life in a different way that didn't take all the limitations that conventional therapy let me rephrase that. Conventional therapy has a fantastic place, and there's some amazing, amazing tools that are used. But from what I saw in conventional therapy, it took too long. People weren't getting the benefits, and it was people still on the hamster wheel for the most part. Not always, but that's what I saw. And when I started working with these type of tools, the floodgates just opened up. I mean, it was from my second week into doing this work, my whole life started changing in ways that I didn't know how to describe. And I was amazed. I was like all in. Actually, when I was working with the coach, she kept saying, we're going to find a way to work together. We have to. And when we finally did find a way that we can work together, she offered me a position in the company. It took me 2 seconds to say yes. I sold my private franchise within 2 weeks, and I was fully in because I knew how important it was to get this work out into the world. So it's amazing work, and I'm actually going to probably start creating a program for it towards the end of the year, Marilyn. So I'm not doing it. I may take on a few clients starting in the spring and at the end of the summer, so that I can roll out the program again. So because I think it's wanting a level up. It wants new information to come in from the energy that's been coming in and from the resonance, the shared resonance that comes in from working with someone like you, Marilyn, and a couple of other speakers and transformational leaders that I don't know how to describe it, but there's this amazing synergy that comes together, and when that synergy is tapped into, it just wants to level everybody's work up to a whole different level, and that's what's coming in. So I'll probably start taking clients end of spring, beginning of summer, maybe 5 to 10 clients at the most, so that we can really refine the work and bring in a whole new set of empowerment tools that people can use.
That's great. That's great. And everybody, please, we're going to take questions now, but everybody check out John's show, because I'm on a lot of telesummits, and they're all wonderful, and John is just phenomenal. He's an unbelievable host, and it's true, John. It's interesting. That's why I want to have you back, because even sitting here and listening to your technique and participating in it, and then allowing myself to be vulnerable in this space with you, and not be the person that's just being interviewed. So it was just such a great experience, and I just always love being in your energy, and I just want to continue to offer you a platform to share your expertise with people, because you just have so much to share.
And I get excited about it, so excuse me if I'm all over the place with this. It's just there's so much information to share, so much that wants to go out. But I just want everyone to know that forgiveness has a weird type of connotation in our society. It's like we're letting in this bad stuff that's not supposed to come in. And it's one of the most empowering things that you can do for yourself. And it's also one of the most empowering things that you can do for your friends and family also. Because when you carry that space where those things can affect you, where you don't absorb negative energy, then you just start showing other people that there's a new possible way of walking life where they're not victims of their environment, but rather they're creating their environment in the way that they wish to.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Great. So let's take, and you're not all over the place, and there is a lot of information, and I can tell by what I'm seeing, the responses, you're really hitting on, like, I'm going to read this real quick. This is from Julie. She says, wow, you guys, I'm about to move to the same city as my dad for the first time in 26 years. I had all of the same experiences of fear, violence, etc. John is describing. Thank you for sharing your story in a deep way. And that's a lot to be said there too, John, because just by sharing, this is the other thing, that I find, that we're human, even though, like, I'm a psychic medium that's a teacher and a mentor to many people, and you're a host, we're human and we've had these experiences, and I like to learn through other people's experiences, and we're here to teach people through their experiences. So since she's moving back, I'm sure she didn't really ask a question, but why don't you give us an affirmation? Of course, I just deleted that question. But give us an affirmation for somebody who maybe is going home to their parents, and their parents still incites that kind of anger and destruction and feelings inside of us. Give us something to say or do.
Well, it's interesting with the affirmations, Marilyn. We really have to take the affirmations through a level of tone where we can actually accept it. Because to actually pronounce that we are something without carrying the energy of it, it's like a lotto. You've heard of the lotto winners that they win, these multi-million dollars and then can't hold on to it. It's because they can't hold on to the energetic vibration of the money.
Yes,
so
I agree.
When you work with affirmations, you really want to work with them, I think, through steps and go through different levels of it so that you can start carrying the full energy of it. So for something, if you're going back home and it wasn't a safe environment and you feel vulnerable, the first part of it is I deserve to be safe.
Love that.
And I'm going to give you a few of them, actually. The next part of it is I can be safe. The third part of that is I am safe. And the last part of that is I am so grateful for how safe I am. Because then you're carrying that gratitude, and that gratitude, that's just the golden key to everything. I speak about gratitude on a continuous basis, and I actually wrote about gratitude today in a Facebook post that I put up. But that's like the golden mean. When you get to gratitude in what the transgressor did to you in that forgiveness process. I got to gratitude in my father being abusive. But when I got to the gratitude part of it and I understood why, it just let everything go. And my whole relationship with my dad changed. And it happens to clients after client, their relationships with their parents, it just takes on a whole different component. It's absolutely amazing. So I deserve to be safe is one. I deserve to be happy. I'm going to give you a few because these are so important. I want you guys to build upon them. I deserve to be loved for all that I am. It's not I deserve to be loved. I deserve to love for all that I am. And this is a big component of accepting yourself and other people accepting you as well.
I love, so for everybody knows, he's filled it in, but it's I deserve, and then the next step is I can, and then the next step is I am, and then the next one is I am so grateful for.
Right.
So there's 4 different steps. So I just wanted to repeat that to people, and so that they had that. What about one for money?
Oh, money. Let me think of one there. Gosh, these are old school for me. It's so funny because once you guys get into the vibration of owning this, whenever you think there was scarcity or lack and you move past it, again, it becomes like it was a past lifetime. You really have to search the vault to find it. So for money, oh gosh, I go into a little more advanced one, but it's I deserve the universe to support me in everything that I do. I have more than enough money to do all the things that I want to do. It's not that I have the money. I have more than enough money to do all the things that I want to do. And that component, that phrase actually takes on, it goes deeper. And the things that you want to do, you really have to look at your intention. Is it for the ego? Is it for satisfying the ego? Or is it really because it's putting you in a position where it allows you to create something that's larger than you? So think about the intent of your statements. And it's super important. And you can take the money statements also and the love statements. And money is love energy. They're a fractal of the same thing. They're just showing up in a different way. So whenever you receive money or whenever you feel there's a lack of money, where's there a lack of love? Where do you not feel that you deserve to be loved? Where do you not feel that money shows up to support you, right? So I deserve for money to support me in all that I do.
Good. I love that. I love that. And I know I'm going to hear from a lot of people about that. And believe me, I was sitting here writing everything down. So here's I have to say this one question. I'm going to go through the questions now. But because I have this experience, so I want to read this, and it's been interesting. Jennifer writes, during the day, I'm doing the work and pretty joyful. However, when I wake up too early on some mornings, I'm absolutely angry. I'll get up, walk around, and yell at people in my life who have sucked my energy. I live alone. What is up with that? And Jennifer, I want to hear what John says about that. But from my experience, I have that a bit in the morning too. And I know that I do a lot of traveling during my dream state, going to different planes and places. And when I wake up in the morning, I recognize, and this is for everybody, this works with empathic ability too, bring your consciousness right away to how you feel. And get real with it. So a lot of times if I wake up and I'm like, today I woke up a little depressed, and I'm like, why? What is that about? What am I really depressed about? What happened? What was my dream state? What's going on? And a lot of times for me, what it is it's old habits. It's not even true. It's like the emotional life is just there, and it's just a habit that I'm so used to waking up that way that I'm like, no, I'm really not depressed. Life is amazing. Here's my gratitude list. I'm okay now. But I know what you're talking about, Jennifer. Do you have anything to say to that? I'm sure you do, John.
Yeah, no, I think what you said is fantastic, and it actually carries great energy with it. I would also invite Jennifer to really look in your life and see if you can determine where you're not happy. Because if you're waking up angry, there's something within yourself that wants to come out that's trying to talk to you. So even when you wake up in the morning, if you feel angry and upset, and if you can give yourself 5 minutes, go into the mirror and have a conversation with yourself. Jennifer, why are you so pissed off? Why are you so angry at the world? And see what comes back. And this is actually an advanced tool I'm giving you guys. So, and it's actually something that you may want to practice on a daily basis, which is actually having a conversation that you journal with your inner child. So I'm going to give you something else, Marilyn.
Good, yes. Give us something else. So I'm running out of paper here. Go ahead.
So guys, actually go stand in front of the mirror, sit down in front of the mirror, or whatever you want to do. Grab a piece of paper and a pen, and have a conversation with the self that wants to come out. Just go, who wants to talk to me today? It could be your 6-year-old, it could be your higher self, and just have a conversation. So Jennifer's like, Jennifer, why are you pissed off today? And the first thing that comes to your mind, write it down. Well, why are you acting so-and-so to this? And kind of start being the therapist for whatever energy is showing up, and just ask questions. Don't judge. And then understand. Well, I understand that this is why you feel this. And I'm sorry that you feel that way. What can I do to make it feel better? Where do you feel like you're not heard? Where do you feel like you need more space? And start having that dialogue with yourself, and you really start opening up and understanding of why those energies are coming in, and you'll be able to start doing something about it also.
That's great. That's great, John. I love that. Okay, so here's another question. Where is it? Okay. Charlie writes, blessings to you both. Thanks, Charlie. What about when you peeled layers of anger, sadness, and resentment, but you feel like the wounds are reopened in so many different circumstances, And your reaction gets worse and worse with time and can't forget yourself for it.
Charlie, you haven't gone deep enough. You haven't gone to the core. And so it's when we get to the root of why the anger, the disappointment, why the sadness popped up, that we actually get to let it go. So are you really burying your feelings when you're saying that you're forgiving? Or have you really faced them head on? Have you really dealt with the anger? Have you really gone in and energetically cut the cords so that you've learned the lesson but don't carry the negative emotions that go with it? And also, have you recognized the emotions and owned them as part of yourself? So whenever I take someone through a forgiveness process, they are crying, sobbing like children. It's crazy. The first time I went through my forgiveness process, it was I was sobbing like a baby. I could not stop crying. And everyone that I've taken through this process that's ready to show up for themselves, and that's really the key. When you're ready, it'll come out. If you're not really ready, if you still energetically feel that you want to go through the tumbler with that issue a little bit longer, the universe is going to allow you to do that also. You get to choose. But when you're ready, when you're authentically ready to let it go and to move on and to garner that golden thread that the universe is ready to share with you, then you're going to let it go. It's not going to keep coming up. So I would invite Charlie, again, look to see if you really buried those feelings, because buried feelings never die. They just linger. And if you've actually acknowledged those feelings, then I would suggest that find where that pattern repeated itself. If it was, I had business associates who were betraying me. I'd set up great businesses, and they'd move on, and someone would screw me over, and I would leave supposedly intact, and they would go on to create a successful business out of it, and I'd go back to my corporate job. And this happened several times. But it was showing me where I hadn't dealt with the betrayal and really stood up for myself in other areas of my life. Business, again, was where I chose to experience my safety zone of betrayal, but really those betrayals were happening in my personal life, and I wasn't acknowledging them. I dug my head in the sand because I didn't want to get hurt there, so I pretended that I had a real relationship where really I was being betrayed in my personal relationship. And when I finally put the pieces of the puzzle together and noticed them for what they were and how parallel they were, and started dealing with the core issue that really this was showing me what was happening in personal relationship, and really all of this just really fractaled down into the relationship I had with my father and my mother, then all those betrayals, all those things went away. I can't tell you the last time I was betrayed. That doesn't even come up for me anymore. People don't, lying to me used to be a common occurrence, especially in the culture that we grew up in. I won't get into a long story about it, but it was crazy. I don't know what lying is. People don't lie to me. I don't lie to them. I can't carry that. I can't tell my daughters ask me a question and I'm an open book, and that's not always such a great thing necessarily for me, because they catch me in things I don't want to tell them, but I find a way to tell them information that's authentic and truth, and it's just so liberating. So find that space, Charlie, look deep within, see where you haven't acknowledged the feelings and owned it and honor yourself, and also look and see if perhaps if you did deal with that betrayal or that forgiveness part of it, where have you not forgiven yourself? And go in and see if you can find the capacity to forgive yourself for that same thing that you did either to yourself or to someone else.
That's great. And it's the thing I want to add to that, and we got to take a couple more, and then we're going to get cut off soon. Charlie, is that I don't want to negate, and I'm sure John is saying this, he's not negating the work that you've done so far. Because I know when I was in therapy, John, for so long, and then something would show up again, I'd be like, damn, I worked on that already, like 1,000,000 times. And I'd get frustrated with myself. And I feel like from what you just said to him is don't get frustrated with yourself. It's just showing up a deeper layer to heal a deeper layer. And that's beautiful, everything he just said.
Yeah, that's good. And thank you for clarifying that, Marilyn. Absolutely not. Gosh, it's the fact that you're here, Charlie, doing this work and asking the questions is huge. And it's not an invalidation, but what I want you to do is also have self-compassion, because there's a reason that that it's coming up again, And the universe is just guiding you. Again, there's no mistakes. There's no right or wrong in this universe. There's just longer paths to get to where we're all going. And there's shorter paths, and we get to choose how those come up. And sometimes we just need a little help with people exposing our blind spots so that we can deal with them in a different way. And so, again, I think the fact that you're here on this phone call, that you've done other forgiveness work, or that you're even asking the question, I think is huge. I'm just asking you to go in a little deeper with a lot of compassion for yourself and acknowledgement. Oh, Marilyn, I have to get into this. An acknowledgement for yourself. Because a lot of times, a lot of people that do transformational work, they don't look backwards. If you look back 5 years ago in your life and you've done any type of transformational work, and you were actually going to chronicle where you were 5 years ago compared to where you are now, if you could chart the progress that you were going to make and be accurate with it, I bet you, I can 99.9% guarantee you that you wouldn't be giving yourself enough credit for what you accomplished. Whenever you look back at what you've done from a transformational level, from transformational work, give yourself the credit for the work that you've already done, because it is exponentially bigger than what you think it was.
That's great. I love that. Thank you, John. And I agree with you about that. So Christina, I like this question. I'm sorry, I didn't understand. How do we go from seeing and understanding other people's difficulties to lead us to understand why we attract them into our life?
Well, I'll give you guys a little homework assignment. And it's a small, first of all, what we want to do is we want to get to the point where we're looking at a transgressor and we want to understand them, their personality, how they grew up from a clinical perspective. So we're going to put on the clinical goggles or the therapist hat, and we're going to analyze their life. Well, my dad grew up in an abusive situation with his father. He was beaten all the time. He wasn't acknowledged. He was afraid to speak up. Dad never really lived up to his full potential. He was afraid. His dad betrayed him on a continuous basis. He didn't know how to show up. It was confusing for him, so Dad was just repeating what was done to him. Dad didn't know any better. A lot of times, no, almost all the time, the issues that we're dealing with are generational issues that get passed from one generation to the next. They just do. And we have the opportunity to break the pattern in this lifetime because of all these amazing tools that are showing up. Marilyn's tools are phenomenal. I love Marilyn's programs. They're some of my favorites because they go deep and you really get to the other side of the issues that are coming up. And when you break the energetic thread of the generational components that have been repeating themselves lifetime after lifetime after lifetime from your parents, your grandparents, great-grandparents, it goes down the lineage. You really set yourself and your whole family free in a whole different way. The past actually aligns with the future, and you bring it all into the present, where the timeline doesn't matter anymore. You actually rewrite the past by doing this forgiveness work, by going deep and setting the energy in a whole different way. How we get there, again, think of your transgressor in a clinical perspective and start seeing if you can have compassion for what happened to them. Once I really understood in my heart what my father went through, I was in tears for him, for the pain that he had to endure as a kid. It was horrible for him. Imagine a 6-year-old being beaten on a continuous basis by his father. Imagine him getting whipped so hard that he had welts on his back on a continuous basis. And then not acknowledged for the gift that he really was, because my dad was smart. He was so intelligent. He's so compassionate. He loves people, but all that got squandered because his father wasn't showing up in a different way. Dad was just repeating what was taught to him. He didn't know any better. He was a victim of his environment. And when you can get into the emotions of that, then you can start understanding where they're coming from and start having compassion. And that compassion goes a long way. Then also, if you all get a chance, the book's actually online. It's Little Soul and the Sun by Neale Donald Walsch. It's a children's parable that Neale Donald Walsch wrote, and it's absolutely beautiful. And it's actually the story of how a soul wanted to come to learn where he came from and learn what light and darkness was, because he didn't understand what darkness was. He had no concept of it, and the only way that God was able to show him was to throw him into it so that he could experience it for himself. The story will probably take you 5 minutes to read, but the message in it is profound, and it will give you an understanding as to why when you see your transgressor as the soul that they are, that you'll understand that they weren't really here to hurt you, that they were actually here to show you the light.
That's great. I love that, John. So I want to take a couple more questions, and but I want to play I want to just take a couple more questions. It's hard, and then we're going to do the little quick game for winning the reading.
Wait, someone gets a reading with you?
Yeah, they win two question email reading with me.
You guys are lucky.
But you have to be on the Google Hangout, and so I have everybody who's on the Google Hangout, so I'm going to have you pick a number, or I may play a little psychic game. I think that's what I'm going to do. But I do want to, a lot of these questions I feel that you've answered with them, but I want to say, here's Heidi. She says, can you say more about ways to allow a breakthrough? I want to give you two questions at once, John, because I feel like you're answering multitude questions at once. So I'm going to give you two at once, okay? And I'm being guided that way. So, oh, I lost Heidi's question. Here it is. Can you say more about ways to allow a breakthrough with self-forgiveness and self-compassion? It's actually really hard for me to identify anger I might feel about others. I've always felt so much empathy for others, but not for myself. Confusing. And then another, and I feel like this is together, I don't know why, Laura wrote, after the technique, she started feeling like she didn't feel great. She used a different word, but I'm not going to curse on Google Hangout. So she wants to know what to do now. And I feel like you maybe can combine those answers.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because whenever I start talking, I just start feeling the energy of what's coming up in the group. And I really want to start answering things on a level where it's it benefits everybody and you guys still get the information that you need. If you don't always have to get to anger. Toxic emotions come up in lots of different ways. So anger is one of the core ones. Sadness is huge. Grief is another one. So you don't have to get to anger to feel like there's a need for forgiveness. What you have to get into is you have to get into your emotional charge. How did you feel when your mom didn't show up? So say you won an award at school, you got home, you brought it home to your mom, and all of a sudden, she just kind of blew it off, and you were so proud. You were 6 years old, or you wanted to show her the strong, and it was amazing. It was the best strong you ever did, and you felt like, you were this artist, and then she just kind of dismissed you or threw it away. It's just that deflates you. That takes energy away from you. That actually causes what the shamans call soul loss, where a strength that you previously had actually gets broken away from your energetic body because it doesn't think that it can live and sustain itself in the body that you're carrying. And so, in order to feel safe, it disassociates. Now think of that word, it disassociates. Psychological textbooks talk about disassociation. From a shamanic standpoint, it's the same thing. You leave your body because you don't think it's safe to show up in the same way again. So after a while, the 6-year-old doesn't show her mom things anymore. She builds up the walls. She says, I can't go there. That really hurts. And so I'm not going to experience that anymore, so I'm not going to share. I'm going to hold back. I'm going to make myself smaller. And with this association, then those powers are left outside of you wanting to come back in, but they don't know how because it doesn't have the supporting field because you've built up those walls. You don't trust. The hurt is too much. And those negative emotions and negative feelings sustain the energy that doesn't allow that information back, that energy back. So sadness, sorrow, grief, where you felt betrayed, all of these are feelings that I want to invite you guys to start tapping into and allow yourself, give yourself the space to start feeling it, open up to it. You don't have to do it in front of anybody. Go in front of the mirror and have that conversation with yourself and talk to your mother. Mom, when you didn't show up for me, it made me feel like crap. You made me sad. I was so angry. I felt so unloved. I felt like I didn't belong. Go through those feelings, have the conversation, and allow yourself to get welled up in emotions, whether it's anger, sorrow, whatever happens, own it. Go through the full emotion of it. Don't stop. We're so taught to hold back our emotions. I'm Latin, so I can kind of express them, but not really. But yeah, don't hold back what you're feeling. Honor them. It's so important because that's when you start disengaging the threads that are holding you back. So what starts happening as you start doing this is that energy that left you, that power that sits outside of you that didn't trust that it can come back in, starts trusting again and starts integrating back into your energy, and it becomes a strength that you start carrying again because it starts feeling safer because you acknowledge it. You're there to protect it. It's a 7-year-old that feels acknowledged and feels heard. And in that, it feels safe to come back in because it knows that you have the capacity to protect it now. You have the capacity to have compassion for it. And again, this is just a part of it. And to give an example, think of horses. Wild horses run free. And until they're broken, they're not corralled. But once they're broken, they lose a part of their energetic ability to be able to do things. So do you really think that a horse that's corralled in a 4-foot fence and hasn't been broken doesn't have the capacity to jump the fence? Absolutely it does, without a doubt. But when it gets broken, its spirit gets broken. We've all heard that. And once the spirit gets broken, it loses its capacity to trust that it has the ability to jump over the fence, so it just quits trying. And we do that to ourselves on a continuous basis. So it's about gaining those strengths back. But to get there, we have to start trusting ourselves. We have to start believing in ourselves. We have to believe that we're not going to betray ourselves again, that we're going to show up for ourselves, that we deserve to love ourselves in a way that's going to honor us and protect us. Did that answer the question?
Yes, I think that answered the question and gave them a lot of tools. So because I cut this off at 2 hours, I don't know if it's going to cut us down, so I want to just do the game real quick, and then we can take another question and then end it. But I do have up there my MarilynAloria.com/mentorship program. I'm doing a 6-month soul mentorship program. It's really everything from A to Z, marketing, branding yourself, and if you're not sure of what you want to do in your life, we get into it and I help you with that. It's a very personalized program that you work with me, and you can read all about it at MarilynAloria.com/mentorship. It's an amazing program. I've already had 2 women in it. You can talk to them, have live testimonials. I truly believe in this so much because I really feel that you have to, dreams are in your heart to do what you love to do, and you can make money at it. It's like do what you love to do and money follows, and that's what this program is about. It's about you being a brand and really finding the people that you're meant to get to, and I help you do that and teach you everything I know and then some. So you learn all the mediumship abilities and everything. So read about that program because I'm very excited about it. I know John wants to say something.
I always want to say something. I just get so excited every time I talk to you. Well, I just want to tell her, for those that may not know you, I know we have some people here from Beyond the Ordinary also. We sent out an invitation, but Marilyn's amazing. Just being in Marilyn's energy. I wrote this to you the other day. Marilyn and I had a conversation, and we were talking about things that seemed like they were superficial, and she asked me, what can I do to help you? It's like, you don't have to do anything. You already did. And I didn't know quite how to express it, and it took me about 10 minutes, like, oh, of course. And I had to email Marilyn, and it was just being in Marilyn's energy raises my vibration to a level where I already have the answer. And I don't need to know it, how it's going to come in immediately, but I know it's already there, and it just kind of evolves. And just being in that presence, just from an energetic perspective, is huge. And then you take Marilyn's tools and add that to the energy that she brings in that raises up your vibration also, then you're just in a whole different level of being able to accept information that takes it in a deep, deep level that you not only carry for whatever you're working on at the time, but it's something that you actually get to build upon as you continue in other endeavors and relationships and whatever it is that you're trying to create in your life. It's amazing. So again, the energy you provide, Marilyn, and I don't mean this to sound like a pitch. You're just phenomenal. And for anyone who wants to sign up for a program with you, they shouldn't walk, they should run.
Thank you, John. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. I know you know I feel the same way about you. Okay, we're going to play a quick psychic game, and if this doesn't work, then I'm going to do something else. The person, and get ready to type it in real quick because I'm going to take the first person. I'm thinking of a number from 1 to 10. I'm looking at the number. This is a remote viewing game. I want you to write in the number the person that gets it, the first person who gets it, or is closest to it. And in the meantime, we'll take another question. But the thing is, watch the clock, John, because I don't know if they cut us off.
Okay.
And I want to make sure I get the answers. And you know what? The answers come through after. So I'm thinking of a number from 1 to 10. What is that number? Come on, people. Bring it in. And if you're on this Google Hangout right now, you should be able to type it in. Okay, so I'm going to give another question and see how that comes in. And if you see any questions you want to grab, John, because you have the Q&A up there too, just grab it.
Yeah, there's just a lot of things. Again, I love this from Heidi. Bing, 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 bing. You're welcome, Heidi.
Oh, wait, we have a winner. Spit McGee, and I know who that is. It was number 7, and she got it and was the first one who brought it in. So, Spit McGee, I know who you are. My lovely Colette, you win. And Charlie also had it, but unfortunately Spit wrote it in quicker. So Charlie is a woman. I know that. I had a feeling, but I wasn't sure. And thank you so much, everybody, for playing. So I will be playing more games. I will be giving away stuff. John, let's take one more question. And just in case we get cut off, everybody, thank you so much. John, I just adore you. But let's take one more question and see if it goes on. And congratulations, Spit. And thanks, everybody, for playing. I love that. Thank you. Go ahead.
So, did we have a question that was coming in?
We have tons of questions. So I'll pick another question real quick because I like this question and it ties to what you just said before. Well, actually, there's 2. So I want to take, let me find it. It's Guy's question. Pam, oops, sorry, I gave your last name, honey. She wrote, where is it? Oh, I hope I don't lose it. Basically, what she was asking is how does she know, here it is. Good point, John, about the universe getting our attention, but how do you figure out what it's trying to tell you?
Oh, that's a good one because it's hitting our blind spots most of the time. And what typically happens when it starts hitting our blind spots and we start feeling the effects of what the universe is throwing at us is that we start getting into our mind and start trying to figure out a logical explanation for what's going on. And the first thing that we really need to do in that point is really to drop into our emotions and see how that's making us feel, and then go back and see where is that feeling emanating from. What situation in my life is coming up that's making me feel not safe, like I'm not enough, like I'm not loved, like someone's betraying me. And start approaching it from that perspective. And when you get to the feelings of it and you get into your heart, that's always the answer. That's what's going to unlock. So acknowledge your feelings, own it, and don't be afraid to fall into those feelings and go through the whole experience of what's that bringing up for you. And that's going to start exposing the blind spot because with our own blind spots, we need to start doing detective work. And if you're vulnerable enough to do it, some of the best ways to expose your blind spot is to ask the closest people around you to say, hey, what's going on? What do you see that I don't see? And I can tell you, they will tell you in a heartbeat because other people can see it like it's nothing. But when you get to your own blind spots, it is the hardest thing to identify.
You know, I love what you said, John, too, because what you're doing is making people conscious. And this work makes you very conscious and very present so that you definitely do see what the universe wants you to know. But if you're so distracted with energy towards other people or resentments or any of that stuff, you miss a lot of things. So I feel like that's really great. Thank you for that.
Yeah, well, the information comes in scrambled. And how do you unscramble that? Well, you have to get back to the core of who you really are, which is love and peace and centeredness and divine inspiration. And when you get there, nothing can knock you off your chair. You sit so steadily in that it's anything can come at you and you're fine. And you also open up yourself to information coming in different ways, and you become vulnerable where you share your experiences. And you have friends like Marilyn that I'm lucky enough to have that you can bounce things off of and that help you get it if you don't get it. Because now you feel safe enough to open up yourself in that way. And again, we can't do anything in singularity, guys. It just doesn't happen. It takes more than one person to create. So just know that we're here together, and you don't have to do it solo. And there's so many different resources, so many great places, and so many loving souls that are willing and ready to help you. You just have to be ready to show up for yourself, and it'll show up.
That's great. You know, and I'm getting so many responses like how your techniques have really helped everybody. I'm going to give you two more questions together, and then we're going to be done for the night. Are you able to answer one more, or are you done?
Absolutely. Oh, I love this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know, I do too. I could stay on forever and just help people. I just love this. So I'm going to give them to you together because it's something that's very close and dear to my heart because I have experience with it from different situations. So I'm not going to give the person's name because it's such a personal question. It says, does this heal, and I'm going to give you two, so you're going to hear both of them. Does this heal sexual abuse wounds? And is this similar to Colin Tipping's forgiveness beliefs? We invite experience to learn something, even if it's tragic. I have an opinion about that, but I'm going to save my opinion. And then I have another woman who said, I forgave my father for sexual abuse after he died because he came to me in a guided meditation where he said, when you think of me, think of the Buddha. However, I can't forgive my mom for her abuse. I feel we're soulmates, have many lifetimes together. I know they're two different, but see what you can offer up for both of those people together. It'd be great.
Well, on Colin Tipping's, I'm going to reply to that. You're not meant to come here to experience things like that. It's to say that you have to go through certain things to have a complete life is a fallacy, and maybe I'm misinterpreting that, but I will take issue with it. Because we're here to learn the lessons that we have to learn, but we don't have to experience certain things just because someone says we have to experience them. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. It just doesn't work that way. Oh gosh, Marilyn, I forgot the second part of that question. I got into the forgiveness technique.
That's okay. So let's go to it. You know, just give me 1 second. They were two loaded questions, so I don't know how you could remember them because when I read them, I went,
sexual
ooh.
abuse.
Yeah, she just wants to know how to forgive her mother because for the abuse, she feels like they're soulmates and she doesn't know how to forgive her mother. Her father abused her, so I'm assuming her mother didn't protect her.
Well, I'm not sure how your mom didn't show up for you or how she did show up for you, but there's an abandonment thing there, obviously, that's going on with your mom, period. And that happened at a very young age. So you really need to tap into the abandonment and find out, look at where your mother was abandoned growing up. And start, again, tap into the feelings first and go back to the emotions, not that you're having now as an adult, but tap into the emotions that you were having when you actually realized that she wasn't showing up for you, when she was scaring you. That could have been as early as 2 to 3 years old if you can go back that far, and that's kind of what I'm getting. And where she wasn't protecting you. That's just tap into those emotions from that 3-year-old's perspective and go to the thread of that and start owning the emotions. Once you hit that and start really processing and getting into the raw of the motives that come up, then go into the compassion part and see if you can identify that the same thing happened to your mother somewhere, and see if you can get into having compassion for the way that she grew up. Was she raped growing up? Did someone not stand up for her? Was it hidden? Were you not supposed to talk about it? And see if you can emotionally connect with her and understand that maybe her 6-year-old didn't feel protected and how hard it may have been for her 6-year-old herself to go through that experience and go on that journey with her and see if that opens up compassion that you didn't have before. And I think that'll help you.
I think that's great, John, what you just said, and also the thing to remember that you're safe now. And I've worked with a lot of sexual abuse people, and that's one of the things. And you can go back into those feelings, and you're not going to have the same experience. And you're going to find, I agree with what John said, you find the compassion for the parent as to why they didn't come to your to support you and keep you safe. But you are safe now as you go through this. So that's what I had to offer up to it.
And I want her to know that it's not just about knowing that you're safe, but you really have to feel that you're safe.
Yes.
And you have to own that and really go back and do the work, whether you do this forgiveness work or there's other great processes. And I know Marilyn's got some amazing tools to help you release the energy of that not being safe. So whatever tools you use, really it's about going back to the core and understanding and feeling. Again, hear me, feel that you're safe. I want you to get out of your heart and own it in your head, because I want you to bring that energy back. When you were raped, when your mom didn't show up, whatever happened, and you disassociated, you lost that strength. You'll be able to get that strength back. It's hanging out, that energy is hanging out outside of your peripheral. Get it back by understanding and knowing that you're safe, and that'll come back, and then you'll carry that energy, and that safety won't be an issue for you anymore.
Great. Thank you so much, John. And do you have any parting words for everybody? And then I'll thank my people.
Parting words, I'm just grateful to be able to share what I know. And again, I started Beyond the Ordinary show because I wanted to scream from the top of the mountaintops how amazing this work is, and the transformational work that I've been exposed to from the show is phenomenal. And there's lots of resources and tools to get to where you want to go, and different people learn better from different experiences, from different techniques. Find one that works for you. Find one that goes deep enough for you that you're really ready to show up for, and it'll be a huge transformation that'll take place. You guys are, it's like the universe is percolating with all this potential ready to break out of its bubble, and you guys are at the forefront of that. So keep doing the work that you're doing. Work with Marilyn. If you have the opportunity, you can sign up for her program. It's God, I can't even tell you the amazing benefits that you're going to get from it. And just continue to show up for yourself. You have that inner child that's waiting for you to show up for yourself. And you're doing it by being on shows like this, by following Marilyn, by maybe following me on the Beyond the Ordinary show. And when you keep showing up for yourself in those type of manners, you really start showing your higher self that you're ready to show up for something different. So kudos to all the work that you're doing. Keep it up. Keep being, the beautiful lights that you are in this world, because you guys are really leading the transformational movement.
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, definitely go to John's show, because he is just such a gifted host and has such phenomenal people on his show, and really cares about what he does, and that means a lot. He's not in it for any other reason than to really spread the words. And I love what he just said, and I feel the same way. I feel so grateful to be able to sit in a circle with all of you and shine the light back to you that you shine to me. When people say to me, you're a great teacher, or you're really good at looking at me and not making me into something else, allowing me to be who I am, and I'm like, I'm just mirroring back to you what you see inside yourself. That's all I am, and all of you are a mirror to me. So I just want to thank you so much, John. Thank you, John. You gave us so much. I need to transcribe this thing and sell it as a book, or just give it away. Just give it away. That's what I need to do. But this is going to be up there. Share it with your friends. Really, I can't tell you to definitely go to BeyondTheOrdinary.com show. It is unbelievable. He is just amazing, and thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for your vulnerability on the questions, because that helps us to shape the material of the show. So thank you. And John, I can't thank you enough. And you will come back, right?
Absolutely. I would love to.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful, beautiful night. Pay attention to your dreams tonight, because they'll probably be very powerful and strong. So sit with a journal by your bed when you go to bed at night. Make it be the first thing you touch in the morning. Write down your dream. Read it over after you have your coffee. Circle the words that jump out at you, and write them on a separate piece of paper, and then write their symbolic meaning. So if orange jumped out at you, the color orange, or you ate an orange, look up the symbolic meaning of orange online, write down the meaning to it, and your dream is going to tell you something tonight. I just know it. So thank you, John, and everybody have a beautiful evening. Thank you.